Hello there, this is Daniele from Toolchefs and welcome to this new video. In this video we're going to have a look at how we can add flags, taking advantage of the new variation workflow that we shipped in Atoms 6.0. From the previous video you saw that there were a lot of steps that you needed to do before you could actually add the flags. So again, we used the sync behavior. The flags were in a separate agent group, then we had to cache everything, create a cloud cache, and then then we could render. Some of the steps are still necessary, like creating the cloud cache and so on, but in terms of adding the flags to the agents, now with the new variation workflow, it can be much easier. So as you can see here, we're going to export the variations from a scene where we also have the man. We're gonna export the geometry of the flag from this scene, so the variation geometry from this scene, and then we're gonna edit the variations directly in our stadium scene that we were working on previously. So as you can see here, I have already attached the material to my flag. There are no material to my flag. I'm gonna load atoms, of course. That is the first thing. So atoms. And then in the, I'm gonna open the variation builder, select an agent type. So again, we're gonna add the flag to the man. So we need to set the agent type, the man in this case. If you have a different agent type name, you can use that one. It doesn't really matter. Then we're going to select a variation file. This, the skeleton file is gonna be under data. Configs man, the skeleton root is going to be the hips. Then we're going to pick the textures, that's fine. And then we're going to export these, only this render layer, which we have is basically just the pole and the flag geometry. As we saw earlier, this is also going to export the cloth setup. Directly within the variations folder. Okay, so now we're back in the simulation scene that we used in the previous videos. Here I have already the variation set up, some agents already playing the swing flag state. The first thing that we want to do is we want to merge the variations, and it's quite important to use the merge option instead of the import, because we don't want, of course, to overwrite everything. We're just gonna merge the variations that we just exported. So if we go now in the variation manager and we select the man, we should see in the variations tab, if we go under flag, we see that we have the flag variation, which we don't need. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create an override. If you're not familiar with overrides, I would recommend watching the new videos that we released recently. But basically with overrides you can add and remove geometries to any to any agent of this agent type. So for instance, here we want just to make a with flag override, which will add the flag. So first of all, we need to add the pole geometry and then the flag. And then you need to provide material for each geometry, like so. And then another thing that we want to do is we want to set the cloud setup for the man. So in this specific case, this file is empty. We don't have anything set up for we didn't have basically any cloud setup for the man. So we can safely just override it with the cloth setup of the new cloths of the new of the flag. And then so I save this one. I'm gonna save the scene and sorry, not render, save the scene. Then if I go under the variations, I can actually, first of all, we need to select the agents using the state and stadium. The swing flag, which is a state 18. So in the state machine, I can go under state here, type 18 here, and I'm gonna click the select button. So these are all the ones swinging the flag. I can go now in the variations, and the variation override, I can say with flag, like so. So now all these agents, they have now the poll. We are not displaying in the viewport at simulation time the actual cloth geo. So I'm gonna save the scene. I'm gonna clear the selection. Gonna export a cache. And the cache is gonna go under data cache, new flag cache. Actually, I had one cache already exported there. Gonna export 30 frames. It's cool. Also, I'm gonna export the variations. So the variation JSON that we have in this scene, data variations, just I'm gonna save it there. And then I'm gonna run a CFX simulation exporter pass. So first of all, we need to provide a cloth cache for the flag. So let's do flag cloth cache like that. Cloth cache. And then I'm going to provide the cache file, which is we just exported. And again, we want to select the file with no padding. And then in the variations, I'm gonna do from file, and then I'm gonna say this new JSON that we just exported. So now that everything is set, I can just click run. Yes. Okay, now the process is completed. If I zoom out, let's just select one of the agents. We should see the cloth sim. So the agents have been simulated correctly. And now if I go back to the previous scene, so I can go to the stadium, and I have an old proxy here already, so I'm gonna use that one. So let me hide that, display this one. So I want to use the other flag cache that we just created, like this. And I'm going to the variation, select the variation that we exported, although we could even use the one directly that we have directly in this scene, but just so that it's clear, I'm gonna select the variations and then the cloth cache, which is not this one, is actually the flag cloth cache. So now you see we have the, you know, the flags, you know, playing. Here actually I didn't set up the proper user data for the material, so that's why they're looking a bit funny. But if you set the as you remember in the previous video, we had set up like the user data for the Arnold material. So basically we could pass some colors to color the flags. I didn't do it in this case, but that's what you can do before exporting the cache. Now if I just make sure that Arnold is selected, if I press render, we should see something. So anyway, as you can see already here, we can see the flags and the crowd. So yeah, while it finished to render, once again, I would just like to stress out that with this new workflow, adding flags or even props is much easier. There are, of course, instances where you still want to use the sync module, like for instance, when you have a horse or rider, but again, for props and things like flags and so on, is much easier just to use this new workflow. And one last thing before we finish with this video. So as you remember from the previous videos, we used a lot the group copy module for copying the simulations from one agent group to another agent group. And for the flags, we had to do basically sort of like the same, create a new agent group and then still use the group copy module. But if now we use the group copy module in conjunction with the new variation workflow, if I set, for instance, here the variation to variation the display type, we'll see here that we have the flags already attached. And this is because the metadata that were attached to these agents that would let Atoms know that you know, we had to apply flags on certain agents are being carried over to the other agent group. So from this point, then you can you know, create a cloth cache, and render, and basically you wouldn't need to create extra agent groups for the flags. And this is all for this video. Thanks for watching.